My name is Zachary Riffle. Please do call me Zach. And today I will be walking you through user and entity behavior analytics, which I will refer to as UEBA. So let's get right into it. So at a high level, to avoid detections, attackers will most likely use a method where they are able to go under the radar and display their actions as normal activities. In this scale between what's ordinary user activities and what are obvious attacker doings, there is a gray area. And this gray area may pose an imminent threat to your organization, but could be easily overlooked. UEBA's goal is to build a comprehensive profile of the user and entity across time and peer group horizons, which I will demo to you later. So you're probably wondering, how does UEBA build this profile? Well, we analyze factors such as which devices the users log on from, what applications they commonly use, from which location do they log on from, what resource does the user have access to, what are their standard working hours, what is the volume and frequency of the user's activities, and more. So by identifying what's a normal behavior, we can easily find anomalies, which are the user's activities that deviate from the user's standard profile. So what are some use cases and what are some target scenarios for UEBA? Well, the first would be abuse of privileged identities, such as identifying users with a high impact on their environment and profiling them accordingly. The second would be compromised user and entity. Perhaps discovering an attacker who's gained access to a user's account who really starts working their way throughout that kill chain, which again deviates from the user's standard profile. And then, of course, we have insider threat and data exfiltration, such as a rogue or disgruntled employee who starts to collect sensitive information and, of course, exfiltrate it outside of your organization. So for Sentinel and for UEBA, we overcome these challenges with 4 pillars. So at the heart and at the core of all of it is being able to detect user profile anomalies based on the entity profiling that UEBA builds. And I will touch on how we build that profile more later. Also, we want to provide the SOC analyst with all the confidential and contextual information that we have, so they may use it for advanced hunting or other queries. And really, SOC teams may now easily gain information, overcoming the hurdles of coordinating with IT for insights, such as when a user resets or adds an MFA factor. Entity pages. We want clear insights in the summary of that entity, such as the VM, the host, the user, and more, and a timeline, which I will show you later in the demo, for anything related to that entity. And again, I just want to mention that the timeline is customizable, and I will show you that later as well within the demo. And lastly, we want to make onboarding as simple and fast as possible so you can get instant value. And it really is as easy to turn on as the click of a button, which I will show you later. So I'm just going to cover this slide briefly, but UEBA helps you focus on what's critical. So as you can see on this slide, and what's evident, less than 1% of raw events result in an anomaly. UEBA truly does help your organization reduce that mass influx of event volume. So you're probably wondering, how does the UEBA engine even work? Well, like most things, we begin right there on the left side of your screen with raw data ingestion. The first action is then user resolution. So we take all of those various identifiers, such as UPN, SAM account name, SID, and more, and we combine them to create one single entity. Next, we conduct behavioral profiling, and we do this really in 3 layers. The first is user behavior. So, has the user performed this action or activity in the past? We may ask, is it common for them? The second layer beyond user is peer behavior. So, with our patent pending peers algorithm, we analyze if this activity is common for the user's peers. And then lastly, the third final layer is organizational behavior. Is this activity common within the entirety of the tenant? So again, that behavior profiling is user behavior, peers behavior, and organizational behavior. Then we like to enrich the data with additional context or analysis. For example, we might pull in some threat indicators from Microsoft's threat intelligence service or location resolution data for public IPs. Then we focus on the user's blast radius, which is the user's potential impact on the organization if their identity is compromised. So let's say a user has privileged access, well, then they would have a higher blast radius. If the user is higher up in the organization, of course, that would lead to a higher blast radius. If available, we also like to enrich data with host IP data for IP to host correlation. So the output of the UEBA engine are, as you can see at the end, anomalies and insights. It's worth noting as well, UEBA considers different behavior profiling per organization and per entity. So for example, and to break this down, for one user, 10 wrong password login attempts will be considered too many in a certain time frame. And for another user, it may only be 2 password attempts in a certain time frame. But let's look at the data a little bit more. So let's look at how we enrich the raw data and turn it all the way into our end product, an anomaly or an insight. So as you can see this raw data here, here's what we know. This is an example of a 4624 Windows security event. An account was successfully logged on. The user, as you can see there, Jeff L, successfully logged on to the Finance SRV. This was a logon type 3, a network logon from a public IP address, as you can see there, 218.107.132.66, and on March 3rd, 2023. So this is really all the information that the analyst can extract from that specific event, just looking at the raw data. But let's start by adding some contextual information. So the user, Jeff L, is in fact Jeff Leatherman, and that is his email right there below. And he's an IT help desk technician. His blast radius, as noticeable there, is high. And we haven't seen any activity from him within the past 180 days, which should raise an immediate red flag. For some further device insights, we can see the FQDN, the internal IP address, and an indication that this is an HVA, which we refer to as a high value asset. I can see the suspected device owner there, which is in fact not our friend Jeff. And from Intune, I can actually see that this device is unmanaged. From the public IP address, we can resolve the geolocation to North Korea. Hopefully Jeff is not on vacation there. And from Microsoft's threat intelligence service, we get an indicator that this is what is known as a botnet network. So by seeing the context here, really the SOC analyst gets a better understanding of what is happening. Now let's add behavioral information, which again is truly at the core of UEBA. So from behavioral information, in our case, we can see that this is the first time Jeff has accessed the Finance SRV. Turns out none of Jeff's peers accessed it, and it is only accessible by 4 users within the organization. This is the first time Jeff has connected from North Korea, and no other user in the organization has connected from North Korea before. So by having the contextual and behavioral information, the SecOps team gets a clear picture. We've identified an anomaly. Jeff Leatherman, an IT help desk technician who was recently dormant, has a high impact on the organization, had an unusual access to the finance SRV, a high value asset or HVA, from an unusual geolocation, in our case, Pyongyang, North Korea, with threat indicators of botnet and more. We have gone from raw data to an anomaly and insight. For a brief overview of UEBA architecture, as evident here, Sentinel customers are onboarded and connect their data sources. When you enable the UEBA engine, the data sources selected will be processed by the engine. The UEBA engine pulls users and groups information, such as from AAD right there, or an org chart to create those baseline foundational profiles. Then those baseline profiles combine with telemetry data from other data sources, various data sources. And lastly, we utilize machine learning to analyze behavior analytics, identity information, peer analytics, and user analytics to produce our anomalies. So the UEBA anomalies are actually stored in the anomalies table, and they are basically low fidelity signals created by the UEBA engine. So this is a critical component and part here. By default, they are just classified as informational, which means they do not create alerts or incidents. However, they are useful to correlate with other signals, such as adding evidence to incident investigations, when hunting for malicious actors, and more. So before going into the demo, I want to mention that the UEBA Essential Solution is now available in Content Hub, which packages 23 different hunting queries together. And it really helps unlock those insights that UEBA brings to the table. 9 of those queries are actually brand new content that use correlation with other data sources and some of our watch list templates, watch lists you saw yesterday. If you're interested in seeing this new content, just let me know and I can drop a link in the chat later. I will now hop over to my demo. So this is the Microsoft Sentinel overview page that you hopefully have seen before. You will navigate to UEBA by going here to Entity Behavior under Threat Management. So here on our main page, you have accounts by number of alerts, hosts by number of alerts, IPs by number of alerts, and it used to actually just be these 3. However, we recently added IoT devices by number of alerts and Azure resources by numbers of alerts here at the bottom. So once visiting for the first time, you actually will not see this page. You will see the entity behavior settings page. Let's load that up here. And here's where you conduct your configuration. Again, once loading for the first time, I mentioned in the presentation that it's as easy as the click of a button. It truly is. The button is right here at the top. Turn on the UEBA feature. And then again, you can select your data ingestion accounts right below. You have Active Directory, AAD, perhaps you have audit logs, Azure activity, security events, sign-in logs, and more. So once again, when you turn on the feature for the first time, you can select your data ingestion accounts right here on the entity behavior configuration page. So let's look at an account, and I am going to open pdemo. So immediately upon opening the account, you will see the timeline that I referred to. You will see and gain access to a timeline of alerts, events, or anomalies. And these anomalies are truly useful for investigating an entity, as well as for investigating incidents. So some common anomalies are account creation, suspicious volume of logins to a user account, or even in more advanced stages of attack, anomalous data destruction. And once again, they all can be seen in the same time frame as other alerts or activities. Here we have some recent alerts, anomalies, or activities. We have an invalid sign-in, logging in from a different country within 3 hours, which is definitely a cause for concern. authentication attempt from new country. You have a brute force, Azure Portal brute force. So again, this timeline really enables the analyst to connect the dots and identify malicious activity, and then hopefully take action. Machine learning component in our AI component is truly utilized here under the insights on the right. So there's not a lot of information there now, but here is where you would find information about your peers and perhaps actions by accounts. So if you were to add or remove an MFA factor, you would see that here under actions by account. You have resource access here, which you could analyze. Other information that may pull up here beyond UEBA insights or anomalous high sign-in account could be deleting files, once again, suspicious sign-ins, and so forth. But it's not only just about accounts. Let's go to a host. We will pick on our friend dummy host here. So again, you have more alerts, anomalies, and insights all in our actionable timeline. I will give it just one moment to load and populate the data. Great. So again, it's not only by accounts, it's also by host. So excuse me, here you can see alerts, anomalies, or activities by host, such as user and IP address, reconnaissance, suspected skeleton key attack, suspicious PowerShell command line, a process injection observed, malicious URL, and so forth. Once more, machine learning is utilized under the insights category. Here you can see further results for sign-in activity, new or deleted, users on the host, and so forth. So I mentioned in our presentation that you can customize this page, and I will show you that now. So navigate here to customize entity page at the top. And you will quickly see a list of templates. Here are some examples, some popular examples. Maybe account added to a privileged group, an account was created on this host, an account was deleted on this host. If you don't find what you want to customize within your activity templates, you can even add your own activity right here. So once more, this is for some custom activity configuration. You can add in a name, description, an entity type, such as an account or host right there. And then again, some parameters that you can enable. So this is not the only page, however, that you can find the UEBA. It has been added to analytics rules within Sentinel as well. So if you navigate to analytics under configuration and to the right here under anomalies, you can see UEBA has been added here, such as UEBA anomalous process creation and so forth. The last thing I want to show you is a brand new anomalies visualization workbook, and I will pull that up now. So once again, workbooks are our rebuild templates. The green tag will indicate your current usage. And let's pull up anomalies visualization. So here is the anomalies visualization workbook. We'll pull it up here on view saved workbook in the bottom left. So previously you had to query the anomalies table to find the anomalies in your workspace, but now we have done that work all for you. So this is a high-level overview of all of your anomalies. You can see on the right here your latest anomalies within the last 7 days. You can see anomaly trends. Clearly, we had a lot of anomalies this Monday. And the best part is it orders anomalies by score here at the bottom. So you can filter by score. The numbers aren't too different now. We have 0.1. Let's see if we have any variation. There we go, 0.2, 0.3, so forth, 0.4. So again, since they are ordered by score, you can prioritize investigating the most unusual behavior easily and first. Once again, this is the anomalies visualization workbook. And that brings an end to my demo.